All right, so we're going to do a little bit of practice before you take your multiplication quiz. So here it says to write the equation and express your product in standard form. So remember, standard form is just the decimal form. All right, so it's 4 copies, and we know that copies mean to multiply. So the equation would be 4 copies of 7/10, which would be written like this. Then we practiced a little bit on how we multiply a decimal. I'm going to show you another way that we learned on Friday. So we can write our multiplication sentence vertically, meaning up and down. And right now we're just going to kind of ignore that decimal. So pretend that that decimal's not there. And first we're going to multiply the 7 times the 4, which is 28. And we carry our 2. Now we're going to multiply 4 times 0, which is 0, plus 2 more. We add the number that's up at the top. So 0 plus 2 is 2. Now we go back to our original problem, and we see that there is 1 place value behind the decimal. So in our answer, we need to have 1 place value behind the decimal. So our decimal is going to go in front of the 8. So we end up with a product of 2 and 8/10. All right, for this one, they want us to use it like the area model. So we've got to break apart our original problem right here. So we have 3 times 8 and 54 hundredths. So my 3 is going to go on this side, and here I'm going up on the top, I'm going to take this original number and I'm going to break it apart. So I have an 8 here, that would be the ones place. A 5 here, that would be the tenths place, as you see there. And then a 4 here, which would be my hundredths place. So I need to take 8 times 3, or 8 times 3 ones, and I would get a total of 24 ones. Then we're going to go to our next one, which would be 3 times 5/10, which would end up being 15/10. And 15/10 can be written as 1 and 5/10. Then over here, I'm going to take 3 times 4 hundredths, which would give me 12 hundredths. And that, running out of space. And that would look like this. So now if I lined those all up to add them, find space for it, I have 24 ones plus 1 and 5/10, and I don't have to write plus again, and I have 0 and 12 hundredths. So if I add in my placeholder zeros, in my tenths or hundredths place, I would have 2. In my tenths place, I would have 6. Bring down that decimal. In my ones place, I would have 5. And in my tens place, I would have 2. So the product is 25 and 62 hundredths. All right, so now I have Pedro, and he's building a spice rack with 4 shelves that are each 55 hundredths meters long at the hardware store. He finds that you can only buy the shelving in whole meter lengths. Exactly how many meters of shelving does he need? Since he can only buy whole length meters, how many meters of shelving would he buy? So first we've got to figure out, if he's building 4 shelves and each shelf is 55 hundredths meters long, how much does he need before we can focus on how much he needs to buy? So if one shelf is 55 hundredths of a meter, we need to make another copy of that, and another, and another. So we're making 4 copies of that. So we can multiply 55 hundredths of a meter times 4. Now remember, we're ignoring that decimal. So first we're going to focus on the 5 times the 4 in the ones place and in the hundredths place. So that would be 20. So I'm going to carry my 2 and put my 0 down below. Then I'm going to go to the 5 in the tenths place times my 4, which is 20. And then I add the 2 that's at the top. So I end up with 22. So I'm going to carry my 2. And remember, we add that. So now I'm going to multiply the ones place, the 0 in the ones place times the 4 in the ones place. So 4 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. Now is when we have to remember that when we are multiplying by decimals, we can ignore those decimals at the beginning, but we can't ignore them forever. So our original factor had 2 places behind the decimal, so our answer should have 2 places behind the decimal, putting our decimal right there. So we have 2 and 20 hundredths meters long. So I'm going to write in my statement right here. And I hope I can make my statement a lot smaller than that. There we go. So that's how much he needs for his spice rack. But he doesn't actually need all of that, does he? Oops. There we go. Sorry about that. So, he does need all of that, but the thing is that he has to buy it in whole meters. So if he bought 1 whole meter length, would he have enough to build his spice rack? No. So what about another meter? Now, would he have enough to build his spice rack? Still no, because he would still have those 2/10 or those 20 hundredths of a meter left. So let's draw another meter board that he would buy. So now he has 1, 2, 3 meters worth of board that he's bought. Does he have enough to build his spice rack now? Yeah. So he needs 3 meter length shelves, I guess is what they call them, to build his spice rack. So that first statement was what we needed for us to determine how much he needed just to build those 4 shelves. But this statement is the actual answer. So we are going to leave that right there. All right, so here they want you to do some estimating. So let's use what we learned of the last one. So our answer is obviously going to have a 2, a 0, or a 1 in it for 6 and 7/10 times 3. But let's use what we've already learned. There's 1 decimal behind the place value. Does this one have 1 decimal? Nope, this has 1, 2, 3. I'm going to use a darker color so you can see where I'm marking. This one has 2 digits behind the decimal, so that's probably not going to be it. This one has 1, just like our original one, and this one has 1. Okay, so we have 2 of these, so I know it's not that, and I know it's not that. So now let's do some basic fact practice. Let's think about the whole numbers in this problem. The whole number in 6 and 7/10 is a 6. The other whole number is a 3. Well, 6 times 3 is 18. So does it make sense that my answer would be 20? Or does it make sense that it would be 201? Using my reasoning for my whole number and my decimal, this is the best guess for my problem. So let's do that with the next one. We count the number of zeros or digits, behind the decimal. This one has 1, 2, 3, so that's not it. This one has 1, 2. This one only has 1. This one has none. So that leaves here, but let's check it with our whole number. Our whole number here is 5 and 4. 4 times 5 equals 20. So this first one, the whole number was only 2, so that's definitely wasn't it. The one we circled has a whole number of 23, so that makes more sense. This one has a whole number of 234, so that's definitely not it. And this has a whole number of 2,348. So reasoning, using some estimation, we can figure out the best answer that we have possible. All right, now they want you to estimate your answer for this, but I have been telling the students not to estimate this one. I've been telling them to do it. So first we would write out 6 and 1300ths times 7. Now remember, we're ignoring the decimal for right now, so we're just going to do basic multiplication. So we're going to take the 300ths times 7, which is 21. So I carry that 2, put my 1 here. Then I'm going to multiply the tenths times the 7, the 1/10 times 7, which is 7. And then I add here, which would give me 9. Then I'm going to multiply my 6 in the ones place times my 7, which is 42. And I don't have to worry about carrying because I have no more digits on the top number to multiply. So now that I've done that, I start paying attention to the number of digits behind the decimal, which is 2. So I need 1, 2. So my decimal should go right here, 42 and 91/100ths. Oh, sorry. So that would be the review that we would be doing in class before we take our quiz. So good luck on your quiz and can't wait to see you soon.